Before you stretches a scene of haunting desolation, not the shadow of the Great Pyramids, but a place equally steeped in ancient power, yet far less known. This is Tanis, the city of the sun, a name whispered in ancient texts, a place of sacred rituals and immense wealth. But look closer. Priceless statues bear the scars of unimaginable heat. Colossal pillars, once symbols of a mighty civilization, lie shattered as if crushed by the hand of a vengeful god. What happened here? Was this city known as Zoan in the Bible truly cursed? Did it fall victim to the shifting sands of the Nile or to the wrath of invaders? Or is the truth even more astonishing? Imagine a statue 100 feet tall, carved from solid granite, weighing more than 1,500 family cars. A feat that would challenge even modern engineers. Tanis holds secrets etched in scorched stone, secrets that speak of a fiery cataclysm. Was this the work of man, of nature, or of something more? Join us as we journey into the heart of an ancient enigma to uncover the lost story of Tanis, a city swallowed by time, waiting to reveal its truth.
A desolate landscape stretches before us, a mere 185 kilometers northeast of the iconic pyramids of Giza. Here lies Tanis, a city shrouded in mystery, once a place of immense power and sacred significance. The ancient Egyptians called it Janet, the city of the sun, a holy site dedicated to Amun-Ra, the god of the sun and creation. This is what met the eyes of the first explorers in 1878, a scene of utter devastation. The soil, barren and unforgiving, supports little life save for a few resilient thorny bushes. Priceless statues bear the scars of intense heat. Gigantic stone pillars lie smashed and broken, like forgotten toys of giants. Was this city cursed, struck down by the wrath of gods, or was it simply abandoned to the ravages of time? Let's rewind the clock. Tanis, known as Janet, Zoan in the Old Testament, and today as San el-Hagar, is a name whispered throughout history. Egyptologists generally agree it rose to prominence during the 21st dynasty, between 1069 and 945 BC, supplanting Thebes as Egypt's capital. But the narrative is far more complex. The discovery of massive Old Kingdom statues and artifacts within its ruins hints at a far more ancient origin, lost in the mists of time. Imagine a city dominated by an enormous temple complex dedicated to Amun-Ra, a royal palace. Bustling residential areas, all built with colossal granite pillars. These weren't just any stones. We're talking about 20 to 30-ton monoliths, painstakingly quarried, carved, and transported over 1,000 kilometers from Aswan in southern Egypt. Even with today's technology, this would be a monumental undertaking. Tanis was no vulnerable settlement. Fortifications, including massive walls and gates, were erected to defend against invaders. Picture walls, 70 feet thick, soaring 50 feet high, constructed from over 20 million mud bricks, each one potentially adorned with hieroglyphs and reliefs, a testament to the city's grandeur. Sadly, only fragments of these walls remain, eroded by millennia of wind and sand. Beyond its spiritual and political importance, Tanis has yielded some truly staggering megalithic artifacts. Our understanding of this city partially stems from Napoleon Bonaparte's 1798 expedition. He claimed 2 pink granite sphinxes, now housed in the Louvre, silent witnesses to Tanis's past. Countless other massive granite statues and artifacts have been unearthed, gracing museums worldwide, while others remain in Tanis, now an open-air museum. But perhaps the most mind-boggling discovery is a colossal foot, unearthed by the renowned Flinders Petrie in the late 1800s. Based on his meticulous scalings and comparisons to other colossi, Petrie estimated the original statue to have stood a staggering 100 feet tall. This is double the height of the colossi of Memnon. How did a civilization, using seemingly primitive tools, copper chisels and wooden rollers, carve, transport, and erect a statue weighing an estimated 1,500 tons. It's a feat comparable to building the Statue of Liberty. The mind reels at the sheer scale of this undertaking. In 1939, French Egyptologist Pierre Montet made a discovery that should have rivaled Howard Carter's find in the Valley of the Kings. He uncovered the royal tomb complex at Tanis, containing 3 intact burial chambers. The treasures within were breathtaking: golden masks, bracelets, tableware, necklaces, and ornate sarcophagi, all crafted with exquisite artistry. Had it not been for the outbreak of World War II, these treasures would undoubtedly be as famous as Tutankhamun's. Even today, Montet's discoveries at Tanis are relatively unknown, overshadowed by the more publicized finds. The exact cause of Tanis's decline remains a puzzle. The conventional narrative, favored by many Egyptologists, points to a shift in political power, with cities like Sais and eventually Alexandria rising to prominence. The changing course of the Nile is another factor. As the river shifted, it likely caused flooding and erosion, rendering the area less habitable. However, let's delve deeper. If the city was simply abandoned, wouldn't the inhabitants have taken their valuables? Why leave behind hoards of treasure? The photographs from the initial rediscovery of Tanis reveal a scene of almost biblical destruction. And perhaps there's a reason for that. Remember, Tanis is the biblical zone. In Ezekiel 30:14, the prophet foretells its doom. "I will lay waste to Upper Egypt, set fire to Zoan, and inflict punishment on Thebes." Could this be a clue? Egypt's fertile lands and strategic location have made it a battleground for millennia. Alexander the Great, the Sasanian Persians, and the Crusaders all marched through this region, leaving their mark. Could fierce battles have contributed to Tanis's destruction? Earthquakes too have plagued Egypt throughout history. While they could explain some of the damage, they don't account for the scorch marks found on many artifacts. Look closely at this statue. The right side of its face shows clear signs of intense heat. Granite requires temperatures exceeding 1,200 degrees Celsius to exhibit such damage. Was this divine retribution, a lightning strike, a meteor airburst, or the result of a more earthly weapon? One intriguing possibility is Greek fire, a devastating incendiary weapon used by the Eastern Roman Empire from around 672 AD. This terrifying concoction, likely a mixture of naphtha and quicklime, could ignite upon contact with water and was projected from flame-throwing devices. Could Greek fire have been used to raise Tanis? While primarily a naval weapon, it's conceivable that Greek fire, or a similar incendiary technology, could have been adapted for land-based warfare. The destruction at Tanis, particularly the scorched stone that requires temperatures exceeding 1,200 degrees Celsius to achieve, aligns with the potential destructive power of such a weapon. While the spectre of Greek fire is certainly captivating, there's another, perhaps more grounded explanation for the intense fire damage at Tanis. We must remember that Tanis was a major religious and administrative center for centuries. It's conceivable that large-scale industrial or ritualistic activities involving intense, sustained heat took place within the city. It's important to note that this explanation doesn't necessarily contradict the others. A natural disaster, a battle, or even an attack using incendiary weapons could have triggered the initial blaze, which then escalated due to the presence of industrial or ritualistic activities, or simply because of the abundance of flammable materials within the city. This scenario, while perhaps less dramatic than divine wrath or ancient superweapons, is firmly rooted in the realities of daily life in an ancient city. It reminds us that even seemingly mundane activities, when combined with unfortunate circumstances, can have a profound and lasting impact on the historical record. The fire marks at Tanis, therefore, could be a testament not to a single catastrophic event, but to the complex interplay of human activity and the ever-present threat of fire in a world before modern fire prevention and suppression techniques. So, the sands of Tanis hold their secrets still. Was this once great city ravaged by the wrath of gods, as the ancient texts suggest? The story of Tanis is a reminder that the past is never truly gone. It lingers, buried beneath the sands, waiting to be rediscovered, reinterpreted, and perhaps to teach us lessons that resonate even in our own time.
When you picture ancient Egypt, what comes to mind? Majestic pyramids, powerful pharaohs, mummies shrouded in mystery, perhaps their pantheon of gods, Isis, Horus, Ra. But Zeus? Probably not the first deity that springs to mind. Yet a recent discovery in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula has unearthed a lost temple dedicated to the Greek god of the sky.
Egypt, once a mighty empire, had been weakened by internal strife and external pressures. The Persians, under Cambyses II, dealt a significant blow by conquering Egypt in the 6th century BC. Although Egyptians managed to regain independence for a time, they were never quite the same force. This vulnerability paved the way for Alexander the Great's conquest in 332 BC. Unlike the Persians, who largely imposed their rule, Alexander cleverly integrated himself into the Egyptian framework. He recognized the power of the Egyptian gods and even participated in their rituals, a strategic move to gain the acceptance of his new subjects. He started the construction of a temple dedicated to the goddess Isis, demonstrating his respect for Egyptian religious traditions. After Alexander's untimely death, his vast empire was divided amongst his generals. Ptolemy I Soter, a shrewd and capable leader, emerged as the ruler of Egypt. In 305 BC, he declared himself pharaoh, marking the beginning of the Ptolemaic dynasty. This wasn't just a change in leadership, it was a cultural shift. This Greek dynasty reigned for almost 300 years, ending with Cleopatra's tragic death. The Ptolemies brought their Greek heritage, including their mythology, into Egypt. They were a rather insular bunch, maintaining their Greek identity through, well, a lot of intermarrying. 10 out of 15 Ptolemaic marriages were between siblings. Most rulers didn't even bother learning Egyptian. Cleopatra was the exception, the first and last of her line to master the language. The Ptolemies, though of Greek origin, understood the importance of respecting Egyptian traditions to maintain their power. They adopted Egyptian titles, participated in religious ceremonies, and even portrayed themselves in traditional pharaonic style. However, they also brought their own Greek heritage with them. This led to a unique blend of cultures, evident in art, architecture, and religion. Temples like the one discovered in Pelusium are a testament to this fusion. While dedicated to Greek gods, they were likely influenced by Egyptian architectural styles, and may have even incorporated elements of Egyptian religious practices. But Pelusium's story predates the Ptolemies. It was a key player in the Persian conquest of Egypt in 525 BC. The young pharaoh Psemtik III faced the formidable Persian king Cambyses II. Psemtik, betrayed by his Greek allies and plagued by bad omens, stood no chance. The Battle of Pelusium was a bloodbath. Legend has it, the Persians exploited the Egyptians' reverence for cats, using them as shields to advance on the city. Unable to harm the sacred animals, the Egyptians were routed. Psemtik was captured and ultimately took his own life, marking the end of an era for Egypt. The sands of time quite literally swallowed Pelusium whole. Despite its once strategic importance as a bustling port city and a key military stronghold, its location at the Pelusiac branch of the Nile Delta proved to be its downfall. Over centuries, the relentless Nile deposited silt that gradually choked the harbour, cutting off its lifeline to the Mediterranean. As the coastline receded, Pelusium lost its strategic advantage and its economic importance dwindled. By 1100 AD, it was completely abandoned, left to the mercy of the encroaching desert. The city's decline and eventual burial under layers of sand explain why the temple remained hidden for so long. Early excavations in 1910, led by French Egyptologist Jean Clédat, offered tantalizing clues. He uncovered inscriptions mentioning a sacred enclosure dedicated to Zeus Casios, but the temple itself remained elusive. Fast forward to 2022, and a team of archaeologists from the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, led by Dr. Mustafa Waziri, were conducting excavations at the Tel Farama site, the location of ancient Pelusium. They unearthed massive granite columns, some reaching a height of 12 meters, toppled and fragmented. These colossal columns, along with limestone walls and other architectural elements, confirmed the existence of the long-lost temple of Zeus Casios. Mount Casios, a towering peak located on the border between what is now Syria and Turkey, held immense religious importance for millennia. It was revered as a sacred space by various cultures, including the Canaanites, Phoenicians, and Greeks. For the Greeks, Mount Casios was inextricably linked to Zeus. The epithet Casios likely derives from the mountain itself, suggesting a fusion of the Greek god Zeus with a local deity worshipped on Mount Casios. This blending of divine figures reflects the cultural exchange and syncretism that characterized the ancient world, particularly in regions like Pelusium, where different civilizations converged. Mount Casios was steeped in mythology. According to Greek legend, it was the site of a titanic battle between Zeus and the fearsome monster Typhon. Typhon, a monstrous serpent with 100 fire-breathing heads, challenged Zeus for control of the cosmos. The epic clash between these powerful forces shook the very foundations of the earth. Ultimately, Zeus emerged victorious, casting Typhon into the depths of Tartarus, a deep abyss in the underworld. Mount Casios wasn't always associated with Zeus. Long before the Greeks arrived, it was known as Mount Zaphon, a sacred site for the Canaanites who worshipped Baal, the formidable storm god. Like Zeus Casios, Baal was intrinsically linked to the mountain, embodying the forces of nature, storms, rain, and the fertility they brought. This connection to Baal adds another dimension to the temple's story. It suggests that the site held religious significance long before the Greeks arrived, highlighting the continuity and evolution of religious beliefs in this region. The influence of Baal extended even to the Egyptian pantheon. He became the prototype for Set, the god of chaos, storms, and the desert. This demonstrates the fluidity of religious ideas in the ancient world, where deities and myths were adopted, adapted, and transformed across cultures. The story takes another turn with the arrival of the Romans. Emperor Hadrian, known for his passion for Greek culture and his extensive travels throughout the Roman Empire, took a particular interest in the temple of Zeus Casios. Inscriptions found within the ruins indicate that he undertook renovations, likely restoring and embellishing the structure, showcasing the enduring appeal of this sacred site across different empires and eras. The Temple of Zeus Casios at Pelusium truly embodies the cultural melting pot that characterized the ancient Mediterranean world. It reflects the convergence of Canaanite, Greek, Egyptian, and Roman influences, highlighting the exchange of ideas, beliefs, and artistic traditions that shaped this region. This archaeological discovery provides a tangible link to this rich and layered past, reminding us of the interconnectedness of ancient civilizations. If you enjoyed this journey through time, then prepare yourself for our next adventure. We're delving deep into the heart of ancient Egypt, a land of pharaohs, pyramids, and mysteries waiting to be unearthed. Join us as we explore the life and legacy of Alexander the Great, the Macedonian king who conquered Egypt and forever changed its course. Discover how his reign ushered in a new era of Greek influence, revitalizing the economy and transforming the cultural landscape. Uncover the secrets of this ancient civilization and witness the clash of cultures that shaped the destiny of Egypt.
Egypt, land of pharaohs and pyramids, where time itself seemed to bow before the weight of millennia. Yet by the mid-4th century BC, this once mighty civilization was a shadow of its former glory, its people yearning for a savior. From the north, a young king, barely out of his teens, swept across the known world, conquering all in his path. Alexander the Great. His eyes were set on the Persian Empire, and Egypt lay directly in his path. But what awaited Alexander in the land of the Nile was not the fierce resistance he expected. Instead, he found a people desperate for liberation, a culture ripe for transformation, and a destiny that would intertwine his name with the very soul of Egypt. Forever. This is the story of how a conqueror became a pharaoh, a god, and a legend. This is the story of Alexander in Egypt.